Hello, hello, my most amazing artists. Good morning. Today we're going to be making a fall leaf drawing using overlapping shapes and warm and cool colors. All right. This is an example of what your project could look like, but hopefully not exactly, so that you can make it your own. To get started, you're going to need some paper, a black crayon, and a pencil. All right, let's get started here. I like to start in pencil just because you can always erase pencil. You can't erase crayon. All right, and we're going to start with the branch. All right, you want to kind of start the branch either on the left side of your paper or the right side. That's up to you. But you want to start it kind of in the middle of the paper so that you have room on both sides of the branch to create leaves. So let's do this. And you know, branch trees, I don't know if you've noticed, but tree branches, they don't exactly go straight. Can you see that? They're not exactly straight lines. They curve just a little bit, not too much. They twist just a little bit. And just for fun, I think I'm going to add maybe a little tiny branch right below it. All right. I'm imagining that this side is the side that is closest to my tree trunk. So the next thing I'm going to do is put down my pencil. I'm going to get out that black crayon. And I'm going to trace my line. Okay. Now, remember how I said this is the side that's closest to the tree trunk? Well, that means that this side of my branch is going to be a little bit thicker. All right? So I'm going to come over and leave this edge alone, or this side of the line alone. And I'm going to come next to, starting about here, and I'm going to come next to my line, and I'm going to start making it thicker or fatter. Sometimes when I do this, I have to turn my paper, and that's okay. It's a good thing when we're working. It's getting thicker and thicker. Oops. I broke my crayon. Has that ever happened to you? That's okay. You know what I do? Just pop off one end and keep using the other. Okay. So now, there we go. One end of this branch is thicker than the other. Okay. I'm going to do a little bit of the same thing here. I'm going to make this little branch just a little thicker at the end. Okay, and now this is ready for my leaves. Alright, there are two ways I can draw my leaves. Alright, actually there's plenty of ways I could draw leaves, but there's two ways I'm going to show you today. And if you have a different option at home for how you would like to draw your leaves, that's fine. Alright, let me show you on a separate piece of paper. The first way is pretty easy. You curve one way and stop, and you curve the other way and stop. It kind of looks like a football, doesn't it? And then when I'm done, I always put a line down the middle and some lines on the side. I don't want to put too many because we're going to be coloring these leaves in later. So that's the first way. Remember, leaves can go different ways. They can turn. The other one is much more complicated. And if you're in kindergarten or first grade, I do not want you to do this. But we're going to go up So 2 different ways to draw leaves. All right. If you are in kindergarten or 1st grade, I definitely want you using this shape and not this one. All right, let's get started. I want you to remember we're going to be using some bossy shapes today and some overlapping shapes. So let's get started. And I'm just worried about the outside shape right now when I first get started. Remember, some leaves can be a little bit bigger than others. All right. And once I've put in my bossy shapes, the ones that are in front of the others, okay, the leaves that are in front of the others, I can go back and create those background shapes. All right. Now, sometimes this is hard. We practiced this last week, but sometimes this is hard. And I want you to remember, you can always draw with your finger first. All right. Or you can get out your pencil again and go behind. Okay. Because you can always erase your pencil. See, I can imagine that. Can you see that pencil line? Oh, there we can there. And the technique that I use most is my floating pencil technique. Or my floating crayon technique, whatever it is that I'm using. I take my crayon and I imagine the line first. I draw where I want to. And then when I start to get to my bossy shape, I stop, I lift up my crayon, and I float it over my paper. I'm not drawing, I'm floating. Let's see, let me do that one again. And I imagine it. All right, boys and girls. Now, once you finish drawing your shapes, you're going to go in and draw your lines. You can make little V's, or they don't have to be the same or together. You can draw a line and draw a line on one side, then the other. It's up to you how you would like to do that. But don't make too many of these lines on top of your leaf, because we're going to be coloring it in later. It's really hard to do that if there's too many lines. The other thing I want you to think of is there too much space in one area of your project? I think I need a few more leaves over here, and I think I'm actually going to even put some leaves up here, maybe 1 or 2 leaves floating in the wind. Okay, this is up to you. Yep, so I need one more there. But you're going to fill it all in so that it looks like this. So that some of the paper is filled in. When you're done, now this takes a while, and you're going to want to press a little bit hard with your crayon. Sometimes when I'm doing this, boys and girls, my hand starts to hurt every few minutes, and so I have to take a break. Sometimes I rub my hand, sometimes I shake my hand out, sometimes I clench my hand and open it and go like this. This will help your hand if it starts to hurt because you're pressing so hard with your crayon. All right, when you're done, you can move on to the coloring portion. Like I said, we're going to use warm and cool colors. You can use crayons, you can use oil pastels, but you have to make sure you're putting your color families in the right spot. Since it is fall, we're going to be putting all of our warm colors inside of our leaves, okay? And we're going to be putting all of our cool colors in the background. You should know your warm and cool colors because from the video earlier in your assignment, If you don't, go back and look at them. Here's an example of all the warm colors that we can use. All right. Now the cool thing is that with crayons you can blend. You can use different colors, okay, on your leaves. And if you're using markers, you can do something very similar. And I want to show you what I mean. This is a very cool technique if you have markers. All right. And for my friends who are in school, you're probably not going to be able to do this because of paintbrushes and water and stuff and the supplies. But my friends at home can certainly do this technique. So my friends in school, right now you can get out your crayons, your markers, and you can start to color. But my friends at home, I want you to watch this. I'm going to be taking my markers and I'm not going to color them in perfectly. Okay, notice how I'm not really touching the black sections. Okay, but I've added 2 different warm colors inside the same leaf. It's a really cool trick. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take out a brush with clear water in it. Okay. And I'm going to go over my markers. And wouldn't you know, it starts to turn into like a paint. And the colors start to blend. And they look like watercolors. This is a really, really cool technique. If you have a paintbrush and water. Okay. All right, boys and girls. I know I said fill up your leaves with warm colors. I want to remind you, use your background with the cool colors. Now, same thing applies if you're at home and you're using your cool colors markers for the background. Here's an example of some cool colors. And going in the background, you can make patches of color. Okay, patches of cool colors. And you can let them go near each other. That purple, that green, that blue. And then I can take my wet paintbrush, I can go over them, and I can kind of smush the colors together. You don't want to use too much water when you're doing this, or else it's going to soak your paper. But this is a really cool technique, especially if you don't have paints at home. There we go. All right, boys and girls, I hope you're having fun with our art lessons. I know I'm having fun. Remember to take a picture of your project when you are done and attach it to your Google assignment. There's a